segundos. 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 23, 10. E muitíssimo boa noite, meus nobres amigos, minhas nobres amigas. Aqui é Lorde A, CEO da Rede Vampírica, autor, DJ internacional, apresentador do Acesso Rede Vamp para vocês. E hoje eu estou muito empolgado que nós temos um convidado internacional que vem sendo esperado aqui por vocês no Acesso Rede Vamp já há um tempinho. E muito boa noite, Zarla, muito boa noite, meus nobres amigos e amigas que estão chegando. A gente abriu hoje com um breve atraso. Então, muito boa noite, Bibi Trumps, Dragones Scata, Laura Desk, Let It Do This Music, Nichols Stand, Zarla. E olha, se vocês que já estão aqui puderem ajudar, já vão aí compartilhando o nosso link aqui da nossa live, que a gente vai receber hoje de surpresa um esperado convidado internacional. Ele é meu convidado, é PhD, é professor, é pesquisador, é ocultista. Há mais de 3 décadas o trabalho dele se tornou internacional há bastante tempo. Ele é escritor de alguns livros que já foram publicados aqui no Brasil e também lá no Peru, aqui na América do Sul. Entre eles, vocês já conhecem, Qabalah, Qliphoth e Magia Goética, Uthark, Lado Noturno das Runas. Ambos saíram no Brasil pela Penumbra Livros. E também, né, lá pela editorial Manos Sinistras, no Peru, ele lançou recentemente a do Runa e Uthark. E é um livro maravilhoso, uma versão expandida do Uthark, Lado Noturno das Runas, mas ele tem muitos outros trabalhos, muitas outras criações. Algumas delas foram como letrista de uma banda que vocês aqui do Acesso Rede Vamp adoram, que é o Therion. Porém, né, ele criou muito mais músicas, alguns clássicos assim fantásticos. E é um grande prazer poder trazê-lo aqui hoje para a gente bater esse papo. Muito boa noite, Câmida, Felipe Aragão, sejam bem-vindos. E é um grande prazer a gente poder bater esse papo hoje com o meu convidado internacional, que é o doutor PhD Thomas Karlsson, da Suécia, né? Agora ele está fazendo uma visita aqui pelo nosso país, né? Junto com a família da sua esposa. Eu já soube de antemão que ele está gostando bastante aqui do Brasil. E agora eu vou trazer ele aqui para a gente bater esse papo, para a gente conversar. Se alguém souber, tiver o contato do nosso querido amigo Hermes Stott, lá pelo Discord, já chama ele para cá. Quem puder acessar o Discord e avisar que a gente começou hoje com um atraso, mas finalmente estamos hoje juntos com o professor Thomas Karlsson. Ajuda a gente aí, chama os amigos, as amigas, que vai ser uma noite histórica aqui para todos nós. My noble brother, Professor Thomas Karlsson, be very welcome to our Acesso Redevamp here on twitch.tv. Redevamp, be very welcome, my noble brother.
Thanks, my noble brother. It's an honor for me to be invited as a guest again. I appreciate the work you do a lot. It spread important underlying current of wisdom that has been unknown through the ages, but is about to become unveiled. And what you do, and what I do, and what more and more are doing at the moment is part of a paradigm shift we can't even imagine. So now conversation is actually a small piece of a puzzle of something that is great and of huge importance. So I'm happy to be here.
It's really amazing. My brother is past this time, stayed this time with you. We may realize it is interview, and my audience it's very happy in met you here on our live stream, and I prepared some questions for you for this interview, and I think it will be great. And well, recently, brother, your book Lado Runa and Uthark was released by Manu Sinistra Publishing House on Peru, here on South America. And please talk a bit more about of this book and what are the news for those who already read Uthark Nightshade of Runes.
This release is absolutely amazing because it is a occurrence of runic wisdom was more or less for Scandinavian and Nordic countries, the old Viking countries, more or less no one known about. Then something started to pick it up, and I was the one who especially brought up Bureus system called Lado Noturno or Gothic Qabalah. But it is also about theory called Uthark, which claims that the key to understand the esoteric aspect of the runes is by putting the first rune end, and in that way decipher the full meaning of the initiatory aspect of the runes. So we are here dealing with two old system of runic wisdom forgotten through the ages, but now has become more and more easy to access for people. And this release by Manu Sinistra means a lot because that all of Latin America is where the current grows fastest. Latin America is the most fertile soil for this current, and in different ways. We see it in art, we see it in music, we see it in theater, we see it in club life, we see it with manifest, and it manifests in South America and in actually all of Latin America more than anywhere else. It grows all around the world, even in Arabic cultures, even in India, even in Europe, but it grows most. And this book is a fantastic cooperation of the great talents now out there. So it is a piece of art. So it's not only that you receive unique knowledge of a forgotten system of the mystery of runes, but you also get one piece of art. So to make it it's a book that you must have because it is both for you to master the web of destiny, and it's also a beautiful piece of art.
Amazing, and I'm very, I'm crazy to see this edition. This edition, I'm waiting by my book, and it's a great book. But bro, recently you published on Europe a Necromancer's Diary, where you told with great details much of your practice and some passages of your life history on the occult. And please tell us more about this book, the Necromancer Diary. It's an interesting experience with succubus or even vampires on your early journeys.
Yes. It's the second part of the trilogy. The first was amongst mystics and magicians in Stockholm. And A Necromancer's Diary is the second part, and the third part is yet to be written. That will have the name at the end of the left-hand path. I could say that mystics and magicians in Stockholm give you a good understanding of how this global current started among very young people, started a very weird journey to Marrakesh in Morocco, where more or less I can say everything started 1989. A Necromancer's Diary can be read without reading amongst mystics and magicians. This trilogy is written in a way that you should be able to read them independently. And I can say that A Necromancer's Diary is darker. It's more violent. It's more sexual and erotic. And goetic demons. Because the reason why it became darker is because I, by then, had went even darker into the left-hand path and became more acquainted with the dark forces. And you brought up the topic of vampires, which is very interesting, because what is a vampire? Vampire is a human who have received eternal life. Then we have the concept that this human is dependent on other people's blood. I would say that that is just partly true. A true vampire will find the blood of eternal life in their own veins, because the ancient knighthoods of all Draconis, of which both Vlad Tepes and forefathers to Elizabeth Bathory belonged, were orders with the main obligation to keep the bloodline from the fallen angels intact and protect it. Because what happened back in the mythic past was that the human, we grew up more or less as the dark, even if there's a lot of weak points in that theory. Never mind. Then the fallen angels, or rather angels, started to man creature made by soil and felt an attraction for man, and a sexual attraction, and a relation between men, and especially women, and angels, who then became the fallen angels, began, and spread around the world. Even today, a certain amount of people still can trace back their bloodlines, not just to the apes or the monkeys, but to the fallen angels, which means that we have blood of angels inside our veins. And that blood can give us eternal life. But that was something that was hard to keep. So they developed different orders and knighthoods to protect these bloodlines of the fallen angels, man, to make it possible for man to become as gods, is foretold in Genesis in the Bible. So the vampire can be the lower kind of being, astral being that just suck your energy. And those kinds of vampires you should just kill or destroy. They can be humans that are like vampires upon you. Just get rid of them. Get away with them. They just take your energy. They just want to suck things from you, but don't give anything back. But what we should do is to honor and collaborate and find, this is the most important thing, find the brothers and sisters out there around the world, in all continents, that has blood from the angels inside their veins. That is a little bit of Necromancer's diary. But the Necromancer's diary is also about how I met the fallen angel, the main one, and he told me things that it's my duty to spread to other people around the world that want to listen to the that came directly from the Lord of the fallen angels, from Lucifer himself. Then it is also a very personal book with tragedies in my life and joys and happiness in my life. So it is a book that covers, I would say, the full spectrum of being a dark adept on the left-hand path. Yes. Mhm. I would say that necromancy is perhaps the part of our path you should wait with until you have reached the state of experience. You must have experienced death, necromancer. If you haven't experienced death, then you can't be a necromancer. And we are not necessarily talking about physical death, magical, but it must be a death that's genuine, that's going into you, that you really die. And when you have died, you will find the keys how to raise the dead. It happens in ways that is very unexpected. So when you deal with necromancy, and if you are successful, expect unexpected. That's my answer.
It's a great answer, brother. Then let's talk about now our next question. It's about Elizabeth Bathory. It's always a great theme here on our show. A great woman, a leader of a fortress who acted as a war hospital during his life. Tall woman with 9 years survived the invasion of her home and watched her sisters being raped and killed on her view. She was prepared to rule since childhood by his powerful family, the Bathory. And we heard about his cousin Sigismund Bathory being accused of occultism, satanism, and witchcraft. Her grandson, the grandson of Elizabeth Bathory, was Count of Rakoczy, more known as the first Count of Sanderman. She had a fantastic life history, much more bigger than the mediatic bloodbaths on Virgin's blood. May you talk more about Elizabeth Bathory for us?
One of the torchbearer of the knighthoods. This knighthood had both female and male members, and he was one of them that belonged to this old Ordo Draconis, or the Order of the Dragon, and she fought to the very end ideals of the order. I don't know enough about her history to elaborate so much about this. But what we know is that she's become an icon for female dark art practitioner. So in that way, her legacy lives on thanks to her brave spirit and strong character, and that she was loyal into the end to the Order of the Dragon.
Yes, she's a great woman and a great spirit. I have a great admiration for her conquests, and I dream about when more books showing a more true face of this great woman, this great leader, Elizabeth Bathory, may show to the world not only what the mediatic build around her, and I think it will be great when this happens. But brother, 2 weeks ago we have a great talk in here about Grigory Rasputin. This uncommon starlet from Russia
Yes.
became the parallel power on the Tsar's court. But he is most interested and that does his on his voyages dealing with the faces of the Neolithical Russian shamanism from your time, and we perceived that he take great influence from Orthodox mystic of Mount Athos, and happens according the diaries of Rasputin he have some problems with the monks of Mount Athos, and this is always interesting. But some people say that Rasputin was inspired by the Qlists. I'm not sure if I I talk right, but
Yeah.
yes, the Qlists and the Qlist was heirs of the Bogomil heretics. For me, sometimes Rasputin make me think about a kind of allegory from India, but he have connections with Russian shamanism, and he's a great, rich historical character. Please, bro, speak a bit more about Rasputin. It's a subject that you appreciate too.
He one aspect of Rasputin, of course, his extreme political influence because of his close relation to the Emperors and the Tsar family. And some people claim that he was the reason this empire collapsed. I think it's exaggerated. But he's mostly interesting as a spiritual person because he had an idea that sin is what can make us sin without sin. Because there is a trace in Christianity that without sin, that if we people, men, humans, were without sin, there would be no reason for the death of Christ. And that's something that Rasputin really took to his heart. So he really elevated sin, not least in form of sex. And said that he had sex with more or less all upper class women of Russia of those days, and that he was kind of a therapeutic for them, kind of more brutal version of Sigmund Freud that listened to their problems, but then also quite likely and quite often had sex with these upper class women. But then, interesting as you mentioned, he has his roots back in an orthodoxy that's very interesting and in itself very draconian. If you look at the bishop staff in the Orthodox Church, it's two serpent heads, and he was also inspired by the Siberian shamanism. And to understand, and here is also something some more scholars should dig deeper into. It is its relation to Russian and Central Asian and East European cults that survived in different forms through the ages. And he was definitely the initiate of this Gnostic cults lived on, often in small villages rather than in the major cities. So Rasputin is a very interesting character because he had so extreme big political influence, but also what's most interesting is who was he? What kind of powers did he have? And what is the sources to his power? Why did he claim one should sin, that you can only be holy if you sin, is the famous quote. And that is something that goes very well to a lot of the Gnostic cults that have lived on inside Christianity and outside Christianity. But it's still a lot to uncover when it comes to this fascinating monk or shaman, or what we prefer to call him. By the way, down here in, I'm not paid for marketing, but I enjoy this because we don't have this in Sweden. So it's very good and refreshing. But of course, I must have Swedish snus. And Swedish snus is another story. Her books have been of immense influence for me. Her way to write, but also the way that she performed black masses on La Coupole restaurant in Paris, where I went with my father when I was a teenager. It was the place for all the jet set and cool people and politicians and artists and fancy people, and a lot of drawings made by one of Sweden's more artists, Isak Grünwald. She performed black masses there, and she had the idea of the white mass, the black mass, and out of that come the gold mass. And I agree upon that we have the white mass, and then we must perform the black mass, and out of that we will receive the red or the golden mass. This goes also together. That the black mass is not something that one can perform whenever you like. Because a real black mass decides when and by whom it will be performed. So it's easy to stage black masses. But the true black mass opens up a black hole in the reality, in the room in which you are and where you are. So a true black mass makes the Dark Lord appear for real in the room. And the black mass is something that you can place yourself in position to be one the Dark chose to perform black mass. And that is something I will highlight in my book, because there's a lot of dark esoterica of different qualities. We must understand that this is about the absolute most extreme questions of life and death, of existence. Because a black mass can transform all reality and invert it. And inverted, it becomes real in another way. Like if you have passed through a black hole and left it behind you and enter into a new reality where you can see things as they really are. So the black is a complicated topic, and it also has to do to get the tunnels of the life or the T of knowledge to go together and form the right crossroad where you perform the black mass, as the witchcraft or hexcraft of the Greek. You must find the right crossroad, and the crossroad can be where you least expected it to be. I would say that Magia Goética did the pioneering work, but she just opened the first seals, and there are yet seals to be opened. And in my new book, the seals will open up, and it will have a huge impact on esotericism, spirituality, the life of man. It is a map. It is a map to go from being a mortal man to an eternal being living in bliss, wisdom, and power. It's a hard path. The tunnels are many. It's easy to go astray. But if you swear the right oath to the dragon and the Dark Lord, you will always be put back on track. And if you fall, the dragon will make you rise again until you reach the final goal. That's pretty much it.
Yes, brother. It's amazing dark voyage where its horizons where darkness means horizons, and this is a great view and something that I learned reading and appreciating your previous books, and this is amazing how everything on how our perception and how our development evolves, goes great and we may realize much more. And bro, before we continue our interview, we have one song, right, and for you to play here for our audience. Then we return with some more questions, okay? And the song is
That sounds perfect.
okay. I will play. We began for one of my favorite song from you. This is a great song. It's Nova Era Draconis Black Diamond Remix for all you, my dear listeners. It's an amazing song, bro. It's a great song. And this song have a history. The speech on this music was recorded during a moment while you speaking from your heart on Capri Island. Maybe may you talk a bit more about the song?
This song is one of the most important songs I made. I was down in Greece, in Piraeus, outside Athens, and worked together with my brother Yanis, who is head of the band Serpent Noir. And I wrote all the lyrics for that album, and for one song I also was singing or speaking or how to say. And we had a lot of fun when making this video. When we were finished after a day of really hard work to making this video, that is a bit of a documentary about initiation in the Draconian tradition. We went out for a walk, and the filmer, he was not into dark esotericism especially much, and he asked me a little bit, but what is this? And then it was like just a spirit came into me, or a kind of inspiration, and I just jumped up on a wall and started to speak, and I spoke directly from my heart with and it was completely unplanned, and it was totally spontaneous, and it also represented something I wanted to say, because during my life, both as a magician, as an ordinary human, sometimes you have been off track, sometimes you have fallen down, you have been weak, you haven't been able to do what you feel you should do, you feel you have done mistakes, and then as a magician you can feel how if you just rest in the arms of the dragon, you will be pushed up again and you will rise. And this is not something that is just for a single person. This is for human as a species. We are down in the dust, all of us. We are on the very verge of extinction of our own species. So we must now rely on the dragon to rise up as a species, both as individuals, but we must, as I say in this speech, help each other. And where we see boredom, we should try to build up things. Where we see uneducation, we should educate. When we see blindness, we should try to make people open their eyes, because we are now in, and this is something Jadrina Glowska would agree upon completely, we are in the beginning of a paradigm shift where we have gone from the age of the father of Judaism and the more ethical religions to the age of the Son, Christendom, and to a certain extent Islam, now to the age of the Holy Spirit, of Shekinah, of Shakti, of Sophia, of Lilith. And the dragon is the being that will lift up all of this and make this aeon become real. But we must also be prepared to do the hard work to make it real. So this song was based upon how I could look back on my own failures and sorrows, and also see how strong the power of the dragon is.
Bro, that's remember something. Remember something. On 2019, last year, you started the basis and start tracking and promote the Global United Night Side. Please, almost 1 year after, how was going Global Night Side? Please present the idea of Global Night Side to our audience.
It came up when I saw all these groups around the world, and not least in Latin America, that there are a lot of groups, hundreds, perhaps thousands of groups. We talk about hundreds of thousands of people that are involved in dark esotericism in different ways. Quite often they are in conflict with each other. So the groups are quite often just like 1 or 2 or 3 persons. The idea with Global United Night Side is that we should create the movement. It shouldn't be based upon any organization or order or society. It's more of a feeling that you feel that you belong to this new paradigm and that you are prepared to cooperate with others rather than try to compete or speak bad about others. Go away from childish rivalry into a more mature form of spirituality that have the potential to change the world for real, because there are hundreds of thousands of people out there that are in the night side spirituality. And when I get the question, how do I join the Global United Night Side? The answer is, you don't need to join. If you feel the attraction to the dark path, you are already part of it.
That is great. And brother, how peoples may join to Global Night Side, how peoples can get know much more about this movement.
It is just in its beginning, but the basic idea is that this is more of a current, a movement, rather than an order or an organization. And the future will tell how this will develop. But I am pretty sure that this is something that will. It is time for everyone out there that feel drawn to the dark side to be part of the Global United Night Side. And you don't need to do anything but just open your heart to the dark side. And you will then, by the light bearer, Lucifer, and of darkness, Lilith, be guided to the right direction.
Yes. And bro, I have one question that starts to inspire a lot of people here on our audience on Radio Vampirica. It's what are the talas, the dark chakras? It's an interesting topic. May you explain and present a bit more about this content? Maybe an introduction for our Brazilian and South American audience. What his names, which kingdoms, spiritual kingdoms, they connect us? What benefits brings work with the dark chakras?
Spirituality has often been seen as you are sitting down and then you rise up the Kundalini or the inner fire up through the spine to the head. And that is how it should be. But unfortunately, spirituality around the world, even in India, the yogis have forgotten the importance of the dot chakras, the talas, that are in the legs. And to make an understandable comparison, to compare with something, if you are into martial arts, you know the importance of the legs. Without the power legs, the balance of the legs, you won't be especially successful. The legs are the foundation. And the work with talas is of huge importance. And is something that Dragon Rouge, the order which I have founded, work with a lot in the higher degrees. Because they are associated with the levels of hell, cruelty, murder, arson, and such things. So it is powers that you must be working with extremely carefully. But the powers of the talas are of absolute necessity for true spiritual awakening.
Absolutely. Well, brother, we have one more song from you to play. This is a great one. It's from your work together, Serpent Noir, the Desert of Azazel. And please stay with us after this song for one last question. And para nossa audiência aqui no Brasil, continuem conosco. Vamos tocar agora mais uma canção agora do Serpent Noir, Desert of Azazel, com participação do nosso convidado de hoje, o Dr. Thomas Karlsson. E depois da música a gente volta aqui para uma última pergunta e uma despedida aqui, tá bom? Então continuem firmes, continuem conosco. Vamos só ativar aqui a tela da música. Another great classic, my noble brother. It's a great song, and then the and the inspiration around the desert of Azazel is true great. Ah, may you have spoke some words about this lyric, about this music, and his creation.
We are all outcasts. We are thrown out into a cold existence, and we are scattered, and our mission is to find Azazel in the desert, to be able to return and be rewarded for our work. But most people are too ignorant to even notice their own existence and the conditions of their own existence. So they will just become dust when they die. But those who embrace the blood of Cain inside themselves, they will rise up and become as stars and gods. And that is the essence of this song. It's also homage to science. The church sometimes supported science. You must give them credit for that. But too many times stopped science. And the most brutal example we know is when they burnt Giordano Bruno on Campo de Fiori in Rome, year 1600. And that is something that the Dark Lord will revenge, because science is the best ally to the dark path.
It's really a great time, and may have this conversation with you, my noble brother. It's absolutely amazing, and I cannot.
I love to speak with you.
Oh, I cannot leave you without express and bring to you our last question from this interview. But you are always you have a place here whenever you want. You always welcome here to Accessos Rede Vamp, Rede Vampírica, and Vox Vampírica always. But I have this question for you. Recently you posted this. What do the pillars of the tree of Kinnology represent? They are two polar forces, the South Pole and the North Pole. Between them, the energy fields that the magicians become part of are created. The two black pillars are the polarities, but not as in ordinary occultism. They are the two poles that open like a vagina when the magicians enter the path and are born again. They are first closed like a drapery, but open when Odin descends into the underworld to meet death, the god's hell, the concealed one, and becomes enlightened by the secret of runes. They are Ida and Pingala, but in an interpretation that is specific to yoga of darkness, Varmachara, Vinmaga, and Nagori traditions. They represent the two legs we walk with and the talas. They represent the twilight and the veil that first cover Isa's face. They are Lilith cave, and in front of us and within us we have the dragon's fire. In a temple at home, the pillars can be exchanged exchanged by two black candles, the three colors of esotericism, white, black, and red, can in Julia Kristeva's terminology be seen as white subject, black object, and red object, but a red that is an object that is created by forces of the abject. Red is the fire that burns karma and makes us free. That's why the color of the dragon is red, but also gold, and true light and the splendor, out and full spectrum of colors beyond time and space. Bro, this post is a shining masterpiece for all us who journeyed through darkness. Please leave some words more about this great post, this amazing content.
I think the post include more or less everything needed. So the only advice I have, a little bit boring, but it is to read it many times, because every time you read it, you will find new understandings of what it means. That is my answer to this. And I would say some that is a little bit off topic from this. You read it in a beautiful way, bro. You made my really, it's very beautiful. You read it very beautiful. But something that we should remember is that magic works. It is for real. Another thing we should remember is that vampires do exist. And there is a reputation or legend that Elizabeth Bathory is still alive and somewhere around us, waiting to come. Perhaps a legend, perhaps not.
Amazing, amazing, my noble brother. Oh, and here's now we goes to the end of our daily show Accesso Redevampi. And brother, if people want to read more your books, become a member of Ordem Dragon Rouge, who is celebrating 30 years, how people can get in contact with you and become a member of Order Dragon Rouge, or maybe find your books, how people may contact you.
I would say Google and Facebook. Most common search methods of today, but that's true. Depending on which language you read, type my name and perhaps Qliphoth or runes in your language, and you probably will get the link to the publisher. But otherwise, Facebook is a way to get in touch with me. And I'm posting there as my profile picture. It was in a Norwegian art project where I have a shovel and an umbrella. So send me a PM, but remember I get almost 100 emails and PMs every day. So I read everything, but I can't promise that I'm especially quick in replying. It might take time. But you can also look for Dragon Rouge, search for Dragon Rouge, and you will find the order and our website. And there is all information also how to become a member.
Okay, and bro, the new book Black Mass, that you have a release date, or are you working, finishing some parts? There's any news, release date, or something people can support this book? I see you posted something about that.
People have made some fantastic support for the book, and their names will be written in the list of acknowledgement. It has helped me a lot to get time to write this book. And it's about to be finished, so I'm more or less in the last editing part. But I will keep people updated on especially Facebook or the Dragon Rouge internal forum about when it will be released.
Amazing. So, my noble brother, thank you so much by your time and your presence here on Access Redevamp. Thank you so much by your extra time here. It's always great to have this time in talking with you, have these conversations about all these topics, all these subjects. It's really great, and thank you so much one more time.
Thank you, brother. See you soon.
Oh well, we see you soon, and remember, you're always very welcome here on our radio show, here on our live streamings, Acesso Redevamp. Okay, come back soon, always.
Yes, I will. Yeah, bye, and thank you everyone who has listened to this.
Thank you
I
so
wish
much.
you all the best.
Thank you so much, brother.
Yeah, brother. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Esse, meus nobres amigos e minhas nobres amigas, foi o meu querido e nobre irmão, Doutor Thomas Karlsson, autor de Qabalah, Qliphoth, Magia Goética, Uthark, o Lado Noturno das Runas, a do Rune Uthark, que está saindo agora no Peru pela editorial Manos Sinistras, e assim, e tem muitos outros livros do Thomas em inglês, né, que estão saindo agora lá na Rússia também. E eu recomendo que vocês conheçam sim o trabalho do Thomas. É um grande ocultista, uma verdadeira inspiração aí há mais de 3 décadas para todos nós que curtimos o que por comodidade é chamado de escuridão, mas que para nós é sempre horizonte. Não é mesmo? Quero agradecer aqui ao meu nobre Leoros Daliborne, a Agnox por estarem aqui conosco e também nossos nobres Bibi Tampes, Gingerne, Go Within, Câmida, Laura Desk, Leoros Daliborne, Let It Do This Music, Nico Stand, Silly Gainome e, claro, TMP Fernando. Gratidão aí por vocês, pela presença, pela audiência. Esse live stream fica aqui salvo, né? Fica salvo aqui para vocês assistirem. Nos próximos dias a gente vai soltar ele no YouTube na quarta-feira também, para quem quiser, a gente ter um registro, né? Porque ter esse prazer, essa oportunidade de conversar com o Dr. Thomas Karlsson é sempre impressionante, e ele sempre, quando a gente vê e revê essas entrevistas com ele, a gente sempre descobre alguma coisa nova na paisagem, novos assuntos, novos temas, para pesquisarmos, nos inspirarmos e sonharmos. E é isso, meus nobres amigos, minhas nobres amigas. Nos vemos sob o longo e aveludado manto negro dela, a senhora da coroa de papoulas. Ela que nos espera sob o longo e aveludado manto negro da noite. Fiquem aí que a gente agora tem o nosso raid para boa música.